Hello, friends. Welcome to Old Coins News. Today, we will talk about a coin that may look small, but carries a very big history. So let's begin. The story of this coin. The 1993 D1 cent is a classic example of America's most widely used coin, the Lincoln penny. Though small in value, this coin carries deep historical, cultural, and numismatic importance. Minted in Denver, it represents over a century of American ideals, honoring President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected figures in U.S. history. Basic coin specifications. Country, United States of America. Denomination, 1 cent. Penny. Year, 1993. Mint mark, D. Denver Mint. Series, Lincoln Memorial Cent. Designer, Obverse Victor David Brenner. Designer, Reverse Frank Gasparro. Metal composition, 97.5% zinc, 2.5% copper, copper-plated zinc. Weight, 2.50 grams. Diameter, 19.05 millimeters. Thickness, 1.52 millimeters. Edge, plain, smooth. Bust in silhouette obverse. Front side, description. The obverse of the coin features a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Obverse inscriptions. In God We Trust, at the top. Liberty, on the left side. 1993, on the right. D. Mint mark, below the date, showing it was struck at the Denver Mint. Significance. Lincoln first appeared on the 1 cent coin in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of his birth. This was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical person. Lincoln symbolizes freedom, unity, honesty, and sacrifice. Classical building # reverse. Backside. Description. The reverse shows the famous Lincoln Memorial, located in Washington, D.C. Reverse inscriptions. United States of America. At the top. E pluribus unum. Above the memorial. 1 cent. At the bottom. Hidden detail. If examined closely, Lincoln's seated statue can actually be seen inside the memorial, a favorite detail among collectors. Historical note. The Lincoln Memorial reverse design was introduced in 1959, replacing the wheat ears design. It remained in use until 2008, making the 1993 D part of a long-running and iconic design era. Factory minting information. Mint location, Denver, Colorado. Mintage. Over 6.5 billion coins were produced at the Denver Mint in 1993. This extremely high mintage means a coin is very common in circulation, but still important for completing year-end mint collections. Money bag value and collectability. Face value, 1 cent, 1 cent. Estimated market value. Circulated condition, 1 to 5 cents. Uncirculated, MS60 to MS63 $0.25 to $1. High-grade MS65 or higher, $5 to $20 plus. With errors, off-center, double die, etc. value can increase significantly. Warning sign # most 1993 D pennies are not rare, but condition and errors make a big difference. Warning sign # errors and varieties, collector interest. Collectors look for double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, plating errors, bubbles, peeling copper. Error coins can be worth many times more than normal examples. Scroll historical and cultural importance. Represents early 1990s America. Shows continued use of zinc-based cents due to rising copper prices. Symbolizes unity through the phrase E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Reflects America's faith and values with in God we trust. Bullseye final thoughts. The 1993 D Lincoln 1 cent may seem ordinary at first glance, but it is a living piece of American history. It connects everyday life with great ideals, liberty, unity, faith, and leadership. For beginners, it is a perfect entry into coin collecting. For seasoned collectors, a necessary piece of the Lincoln Memorial series. Every old coin tells a story, and even 1 cent can hold a nation's history. The United States of America 1 cent, dated 1998, is part of the famous Lincoln Memorial Cent series, one of the longest-running and most recognized coin designs in American history. Although its face value is just 1 cent, this coin represents more than everyday money. It reflects the political ideals, economic conditions, artistic traditions, and cultural identity of the United States at the end of the 20th century. By 1998, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for almost 90 years, and it had become a symbol of stability, continuity, and national pride. Millions of Americans handled this coin daily without realizing that they were holding a small but powerful piece of history in their hands, linking the modern era with the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the founding principles of the nation. On the obverse front side of the 1998 1-cent coin appears a dignified right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This portrait was originally designed by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The decision to place a real historical figure on a circulating U.S. coin was revolutionary at the time, as earlier American coins traditionally featured symbolic figures, such as liberty rather than actual people. By 1998, Lincoln's image had become deeply familiar and respected, symbolizing honesty, unity, freedom, and sacrifice. Above Lincoln's head is a national motto, "In God We Trust," representing the country's spiritual heritage and moral values. To the left of Lincoln is the word liberty, a fundamental principle upon which the United States was founded, while the date 1998 appears to the right. Depending on where the coin was minted, a small mint mark may appear below the date, with no mint mark indicating Philadelphia, D indicating Denver, and S reserved for proof coins struck in San Francisco. The reverse backside of the 1998 1-cent coin features the iconic Lincoln Memorial, a neoclassical monument located in Washington, D.C., dedicated to President Lincoln. This reverse design was created by Frank Gasparro and introduced in 1959, replacing the earlier wheat ears design. By the time the 1998 penny was minted, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had already been in use for nearly 4 decades, making it one of the most familiar coin reverses in American circulation. At the top of the reverse is the inscription United States of America, affirming national identity and sovereignty. Just below it appears the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, which reflect the idea of unity among diverse states and people. At the bottom of the coin is a denomination 1 cent. A remarkable detail of this design is that if the coin is examined closely, the tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial can actually be seen, making Lincoln the only person to appear on both sides of the same U.S. coin during this period. From a technical perspective, the 1998 Lincoln cent is made of a copper-plated zinc composition, consisting of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This composition was introduced in 1982 as a cost-saving measure due to rising copper prices, marking a significant change from earlier solid copper cents. The coin weighs 2.50 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters, and a plain edge with no reading. Although lighter and cheaper to produce an earlier copper cent, the 1998 penny maintained the same classic appearance, allowing it to blend seamlessly into the long-running Lincoln cent series. However, this zinc core makes the coin more vulnerable to corrosion if the copper plating is damaged, an important factor for collectors concerned with long-term preservation. In terms of minting history, the year 1998 saw an extremely large production of 1-cent coins, reflecting the continued heavy use of cash transactions in everyday American life during the late 1990s. Billions of 1998 pennies were struck across U.S. mints, especially at Philadelphia and Denver, making this coin very common in circulation even today. Because of this high mintage, most 1998 1-cent coins have little value above face value when found in worn, circulated condition. Nevertheless, their abundance does not diminish their historical significance, as they capture a snapshot of the U.S. economy and minting practices just before the major design changes that would come in the 21st century. From a collector's point of view, the 1998 Lincoln cent is generally considered a common date, but it still holds importance within complete year and mint sets. Coins found in uncirculated or mint state condition are more desirable, especially those with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal surface marks. Higher grade examples certified by professional grading services can command higher prices, particularly if they achieve grades such as MS65 or above. Additionally, collectors often search for error coins from 1998, including doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and plating errors such as bubbles or peeling copper. These errors, while rare, can significantly increase a coin's value and add excitement to the hobby of coin collecting. Culturally and historically, the 1998 1-cent coin represents a period of relative economic stability in the United States, just before the turn of the millennium. It circulated during a time of technological growth, global change, and increasing digitalization, yet it remained a reminder of traditional currency and long-standing national values. The inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and "E pluribus unum" together summarize the philosophical foundation of a nation, while Lincoln's portrait reminds Americans of leadership during times of division and hardship. Even as discussions continue about the future of the 1-cent coin, the 1998 penny stands as proof of how deeply ingrained this small denomination is in American history and daily life. In conclusion, the United States of America 1-cent 1998 may appear ordinary, but it carries extraordinary meaning. It is a bridge between past and present, combining early 20th century design with late 20th century production technology. For collectors, it is an essential part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series. For historians, it is a reflection of American values and economic decisions. And for the general public, it is a familiar object that quietly tells a story of a nation. Truly, even a single cent can hold a century of history within its small copper-colored surface. The United States of America 1-cent dated 1976 is an important coin not only because it belongs to the long-running Lincoln Cent series, but also because it was struck during a historic year in American history, the bicentennial of the United States, marking 200 years since the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Although the 1-cent coin did not receive a special bicentennial design like the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins, the 1976 Lincoln Cent circulated alongside those commemorative coins and became part of everyday life during a year filled with national pride, celebrations, and reflection on America's past. Millions of these pennies passed through the hands of Americans in 1976, silently witnessing a milestone moment in the nation's story. On the obverse front side of the 1976 1-cent coin appears a familiar right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner and has been used on the cent since 1909, making it one of the longest-running portrait designs in world coinage. Lincoln was chosen because he symbolizes unity, freedom, honesty, and the preservation of the Union, values that resonated strongly during the bicentennial year. Above Lincoln's head is a national motto, "In God We Trust," reflecting the country's faith and moral foundation. To the left is the word liberty, a core principle of the American Revolution, and to the right is the date 1976. Below the date may appear a mint mark, no mint mark for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco, with San Francisco coins typically struck as proof for collectors. The reverse backside of the 1976 1-cent coin features the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic monument in Washington, D.C., dedicated to President Lincoln. This reverse design was created by Frank Gasparro and introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1976, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had already been in use for 17 years and was deeply familiar to the American public. At the top of the reverse is the inscription "United States of America," clearly stating the issuing nation. Beneath it appears "E pluribus unum," a Latin phrase meaning "out of many, one," symbolizing the unity of the states. At the bottom is the denomination 1 cent. A fascinating detail of this design is that the small seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial can be seen upon close inspection, making Lincoln one of the rare figures in world coinage to appear on both sides of the same coin. In terms of metal composition, the 1976 Lincoln Cent belongs to a transitional period in U.S. coinage history. These coins are composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, commonly referred to as bronze. This makes the 1976 penny heavier and more durable than later copper-plated zinc cents introduced in 1982. The coin weighs 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a thickness of about 1.52 millimeters, and a plain edge. Because of its high copper content, the 1976 penny has intrinsic metal value and a rich color that many collectors prefer over modern cents. From a minting and circulation perspective, the United States Mint produced billions of 1-cent coins in 1976 to meet the demands of commerce. Coins were struck in large quantities at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, while proof versions were produced at the San Francisco Mint for collectors. Due to this extremely high mintage, the 1976 Lincoln cent is considered a common coin in circulated condition and is still frequently found in pocket change today. However, its historical context as a bicentennial-era coin adds emotional and educational value, especially for collectors interested in American history. In the collector market, most circulated 1976 1-cent coins are worth only their face value, but uncirculated examples with strong luster and minimal marks can be worth more. Coins graded in higher mint state levels, especially those preserved in rolls or original mint sets, are more desirable. Proof coins from San Francisco, identified by their sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, are especially popular among collectors. Additionally, error coins, such as off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, or planchet defects, can significantly increase a coin's value and are actively searched for by numismatists. Historically and culturally, the 1976 Lincoln cent represents a connection between America's revolutionary origins and its modern identity. While Americans celebrated 200 years of independence, this humble penny continued its role as a symbol of everyday commerce, reminding people that history lives not only in monuments and museums but also in the coins we use daily. The inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and "E pluribus unum" take on special meaning in the context of the bicentennial, echoing the ideals that inspired the nation's founding and sustained it through centuries of change. The United States of America 1 cent dated 1983 belongs to the famous Lincoln Memorial Cent series, a coin that has been an essential part of everyday American life for more than a century. Although its face value is small, the 1983 penny reflects important changes in U.S. minting history, economics, and metal composition. By the early 1980s, rising copper prices forced the United States Mint to change how cents were produced, making the 1983 issue part of a new generation of pennies that looked traditional on the outside but were very different inside. As millions of these coins circulated through American society, they became quiet witnesses to a period of economic adjustment and modernization in the United States. On the obverse front side of the 1983 1-cent coin is a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909 to mark the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1983, this portrait was already deeply ingrained in American culture, representing unity, freedom, and moral leadership. Above Lincoln's head appears a national motto, "In God We Trust," reflecting the country's spiritual heritage. To the left of the portrait is the word liberty, a foundational principle of the United States, while the date 1983 is positioned to the right. Depending on the mint of origin, a small mint mark may appear below the date, with no mint mark indicating the Philadelphia Mint and D indicating the Denver Mint. San Francisco did not produce regular circulation cents in 1983, but did strike-proof coins for collectors. The reverse backside of the 1983 Lincoln cent features the well-known Lincoln Memorial, located in Washington, D.C., a monument dedicated to the memory of President Lincoln. This reverse design was created by Frank Gasparro and introduced in 1959, replacing the earlier wheat ears design. By 1983, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had already become one of the most recognizable coin designs in the world. At the top of the reverse is the inscription "United States of America," asserting national identity, while just below it appears the Latin motto "E pluribus unum," meaning out of many, one, symbolizing unity among the states. At the bottom of the coin is a denomination 1 cent. A unique and interesting detail of this design is a tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible inside the memorial, making him one of the few individuals in world coinage history to appear on both sides of the same coin. From a technical and compositional standpoint, the 1983 1-cent coin is composed of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, with a zinc core coated in a thin layer of copper. This change, introduced in 1982, was made to reduce production costs as copper prices rose sharply. The coin weighs 2.50 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters, and a plain edge. Although the outward appearance remains similar to earlier copper cents, the lighter weight and zinc core marked a significant shift in U.S. coinage. One important consequence of this composition is that the coin is more vulnerable to corrosion if the copper plating is damaged, a factor that collectors carefully consider. In terms of minting and circulation, the United States Mint produced billions of 1-cent coins in 1983 to meet the demands of commerce. Because of this extremely high mintage, the 1983 penny is considered a common date and is still frequently found in circulation today. Most circulated examples are worth only their face value. However, uncirculated coins with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal marks can be worth more, particularly those preserved in rolls or original mint packaging. Proof versions struck at the San Francisco Mint are especially popular among collectors due to their mirror-like fields and sharp design details. From a collector's perspective, the 1983 Lincoln cent is notable not for rarity but for its role in a transitional era of U.S. coinage. Collectors often search for error coins from this year, including off-center strikes, double dyes, die cracks, and plating errors such as blistering or peeling copper. These errors can significantly increase a coin's value and are a major source of interest within the Lincoln cent series. High-grade examples certified by professional grading services are also sought after, especially those graded MS65 or higher. Historically and culturally, the 1983 1-cent coin reflects the economic realities of the early 1980s, a period marked by inflation concerns and changes in material costs. Despite these challenges, the design of the penny remained unchanged, reinforcing a sense of continuity and tradition. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "E Pluribus Unum" continue to communicate the core values of the nation, while Lincoln's portrait served as a reminder of leadership during times of national difficulty. Even as debates about the future of the 1-cent coin continue, the 1983 penny stands as a symbol of adaptation and endurance. The United States of America 1-cent dated 1967 holds a special place in American numismatic history because it was struck during a period of major change in U.S. coin production and monetary policy. The late 1960s were a time when the United States faced coin shortages caused by rising metal prices and widespread hoarding of silver coins. Although the 1-cent coin did not contain silver, it was still affected by these broader economic pressures. As a result, the 1967 Lincoln cent reflects a unique era when the U.S. Mint focused heavily on producing large quantities of coins quickly, prioritizing circulation over collectability. This makes the 1967 penny an important historical artifact that represents economic adaptation and national stability during a challenging period. On the obverse front side of the 1967 1-cent coin is a familiar right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909. By 1967, Lincoln's image had been a constant presence on the cent for nearly 6 decades, symbolizing unity, honesty, freedom, and the preservation of the Union. Above Lincoln's head is a national motto, "In God We Trust," which had been officially added to U.S. coins in the 19th century and reflects the nation's spiritual heritage. To the left of Lincoln is the word liberty, a core American ideal, while the date 1967 appears to the right. Notably, 1967 cents carry no mint mark, regardless of whether it was struck, due to special U.S. mint policies in effect at the time. The reverse backside of the 1967 Lincoln cent features the iconic Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparro and introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This reverse design had become widely recognized by the 1960s and symbolized respect for Lincoln's legacy. At the top of the reverse is the inscription "United States of America," identifying the issuing country. Just below it is a Latin motto "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many, one," which emphasizes unity among the states. At the bottom of the coin is a denomination 1 cent. A fascinating detail is a tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible within the memorial when the coin is viewed closely, making Lincoln one of the few individuals to appear on both sides of the same U.S. coin. From a technical and compositional standpoint, the 1967 Lincoln cent is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, commonly referred to as a bronze composition. The coin weighs 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters, and a plain edge. This solid copper-based composition gives the 1967 penny a rich color and durability that many collectors prefer compared to later copper-plated zinc cents introduced in the 1980s. Because of its copper content, the coin also has intrinsic metal value, which adds to its long-term appeal. One of the most important historical aspects of the 1967 1-cent coin is the absence of mint marks. From 1965 through 1967, the United States Mint removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding and speculation, which had intensified during the national coin shortage. During this period, coins were produced at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but none of the coins carried identifying mint marks. Additionally, no proof coins were officially produced for collectors in 1967, another unusual policy decision aimed at directing all production toward circulation. This makes the 1967 cent especially interesting to collectors studying U.S. mint policy and history. In terms of mintage and circulation, the 1967 Lincoln cent was produced in extremely large numbers, with billions of coins struck to meet the needs of everyday commerce. As a result, the 1967 penny is considered a common coin and is still frequently found in circulation today. Most examples in circulated condition are worth only their face value. However, uncirculated coins with strong luster, clean surfaces, and sharp details are more desirable and can carry a modest premium, especially when preserved in original condition. From a collector's perspective, the 1967 Lincoln cent is valued more for its historical context than for rarity. Collectors often look for high-grade examples or error coins, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and other minting anomalies. These error varieties can significantly increase a coin's value and add excitement to the collecting experience. Because no proof coins were officially issued, well-preserved business strikes are particularly appreciated by collectors focusing on this era. Culturally and historically, the 1967 1-cent coin represents a time of transition and challenge in the United States. It circulated during an era marked by social change, economic pressure, and evolving government policy. Despite these challenges, the design and inscriptions of the coin remain constant, reinforcing national values and continuity. The words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "E Pluribus Unum," combined with Lincoln's portrait, serve as everyday reminders of the principles upon which the nation was built. The United States of America 1 cent dated 1975 is a classic example of the Lincoln Memorial Penny, a coin that played a quiet yet essential role in American daily life during the mid-1970s. Although small in denomination, the 1975 penny reflects a complex period in U.S. history marked by economic challenges, social change, and shifting monetary realities. Issued just 1 year before the nation's bicentennial celebrations, this coin circulated at a time when Americans were adjusting to inflation, rising metal prices, and changing attitudes toward traditional coinage. Millions of these 1-cent coins passed through stores, homes, and pockets, becoming a familiar symbol of everyday commerce while silently carrying the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the foundational ideals of the United States. The obverse front side of the 1975 1-cent coin features the iconic right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner and first appeared on the cent in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1975, Lincoln's image had already been in continuous use for 66 years, making it one of the longest-running portrait designs in world coinage. Lincoln was chosen not only because of his historical importance, but because he embodied values that Americans deeply respected: honesty, unity, sacrifice, and the preservation of freedom. Above Lincoln's head appears a national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that reflects the spiritual heritage and moral foundation of the nation. To the left of the portrait is the word liberty, symbolizing the core principle upon which the United States was founded, while the date 1975 is placed to the right. Below the date may appear a mint mark, with no mint mark indicating the Philadelphia Mint and D indicating the Denver Mint. The reverse, backside, of the 1975 Lincoln cent displays the Lincoln Memorial, one of the most recognizable monuments in Washington, D.C. This reverse design was created by Frank Gasparro and introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By the mid-1970s, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had become deeply ingrained in American visual culture, symbolizing remembrance, national unity, and respect for leadership during times of crisis. At the top of the reverse is the inscription "United States of America," clearly identifying the issuing nation. Just below it is a Latin motto, "E Pluribus Unum," meaning out of many, one, a powerful statement of unity among the states and the American people. At the bottom of the coin appears a denomination 1 cent. One of the most fascinating details of this design is that, upon close inspection, the tiny seated statue of Lincoln can be seen inside the memorial, making him one of the very few individuals in global coinage history to appear on both sides of the same coin. From a technical and compositional perspective, the 1975 Lincoln cent is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a bronze alloy that had been standard for U.S. cents for many decades. The coin weighs 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters, and a plain edge. This solid copper-based composition gives the 1975 penny a warm reddish-brown color when new and a durability that many collectors admire. It also means that the coin has intrinsic metal value, which became an increasingly important consideration during the 1970s, a decade marked by rising copper prices and inflation. These economic pressures would eventually lead the U.S. Mint to change the cent's composition in the early 1980s, making the 1975 penny part of the final era of traditional bronze Lincoln cents. In terms of minting and circulation, the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins in 1975 to meet the demands of everyday commerce. Large quantities were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, ensuring that the penny remained readily available across the country. Because of this high mintage, the 1975 Lincoln cent is considered a common date and is still frequently found in circulation today. Most examples show signs of wear, reflecting decades of use in transactions both large and small. While circulated coins are typically worth only their face value, their historical context adds significance beyond monetary worth. From a collector's standpoint, the 1975 1-cent coin is valued more for its place in history than for rarity. Uncirculated examples with full original luster, sharp design details, and minimal surface marks are more desirable and can command a modest premium. Coins reserved in original mint rolls or sets are especially attractive to collectors. Additionally, collectors often search for error coins from 1975, including off-center strikes, doubled dies, die cracks, and other minting anomalies. Such errors are relatively rare and can significantly increase a coin's value, making them highly sought after within the Lincoln cent series. Historically and culturally, the 1975 Lincoln cent represents the United States during a period of transition. The nation was recovering from economic difficulties, adjusting to changing global conditions, and preparing to celebrate its 200th anniversary. In this environment, the penny remained a constant presence, reinforcing a sense of continuity and tradition. The inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and "E pluribus unum" carried special meaning during this era, reminding Americans of shared values and collective identity. Lincoln's portrait served as a symbol of leadership and resilience, qualities that resonated strongly in the mid-1970s.